We are back to Breakdown Boys Wade Sensei with a breaking news segment, Sensei. A little something we're gonna get. We're gonna try to keep doing these.
Yep.
Because we have
today's topic. Who can get canceled first? Go.
It's, me or you are vying for first place here. So this is obviously a controversial topic.
Yes.
But Sensei, did you see Michael Benson has reported on Twitter that USA Boxing, the national governing body for amateur/Olympic style boxing, are now adding this transgender policy to their new rule book in 2024, which allows boxers who transition from male to female to compete in the female category under certain conditions. Now, before we talk about the details of this,
yes,
what are your first thoughts when you hear something like that?
Okay, my immediate reaction, I think, when most people's reaction is like, "Oh no, dude," right? Not good, because we've already had this in MMA, right? I'm not sure if we had this in boxing. I know in MMA we've seen it, and it hasn't gone well. However, I'm gonna hold my judgment.
Yep.
Because it says there under certain conditions.
Yes.
So before I speak my piece, I am gonna apply some self-control and be a smart person and not just react off the sound bite or the big topic here. And I'm going to reserve my feelings until I have all the information, which you guys watching should do more often.
100%. You just took the route of the 1%, and the 99% took the route of up in arms immediately, which, to be fair, if you want to be up in arms about something, that's fine. But let's just get some more context before we get up in arms.
Facts.
Double bicep hit. The policy, it says, minor boxers under the age of 18 must compete as their birth gender in weight classes outlined by the USA Boxing rulebook. USA Boxing will only communicate with minors with a parent or legal guardian present. So this does not include individuals under the age of 18.
Okay, already a big difference, because that was one of my big worries immediately.
Yeah, you didn't want to have, kids that have transitioned immediately going in and, fighting someone of the opposite gender, whatever you want to call it,
right.
Gender, sex.
Yep.
But that's not happening. So this is the policy.
This is all adults.
All adults.
Got it.
For boxers over the age of 18, USA Boxing follows the guidance of the IOC 2015 consensus meeting decision in Chand versus Athletics Federation of India and International Amateur Athletic Federation and the 2022 U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee medical and scientific discussion pertaining to transgender athletes in sports, which cites studies from the Boston Children's Hospital Sports Medicine and Harvard Medical School Teaching Hospital. Okay? That was a mouthful, but essentially they're giving a preview as to why they came to these conclusions.
Okay.
Normal range of testosterone in males is defined as having more than 10 nanomoles. Damn, that's what it's called? Nanomoles per liter? How many nanomoles you got, bruh? What's your nanomoles, dog?
We up there.
Nah, bro. You about 9.5. I'm over here at 22 the other day.
Okay.
Nah, I'm probably not, because I can even grow facial hair.
I know. I'm like,
we struggling over here, bro. Our nanomoles are down. We got nanomites. You understand? The normal range of testosterone for females is less than 3.1 nanomoles per liter. All right.
Got it.
So now we have a range of what normal is for male and female. So here is the restrictions and conditions. A boxer who transitions from male to female is eligible to compete in the female category under the following conditions. The athlete has declared that her gender identity is female and has completed gender reassignment surgery.
Ooh, so you need the surgery.
You got to go get snipped, buddy.
Wow. Okay, so they're not playing games.
We're not playing no games. You getting... Yeah, you going through with this.
You can't just identify.
You're not Caitlyn Jenner in this thing.
No, you can't. You can't just identify.
No.
Nope.
The athlete...
You got to reconstruct.
Okay. The athlete, for a minimum of 4 years after surgery, has had quarterly hormone testing and presents USA Boxing documentation of hormone levels. So a minimum of 4 years.
4 years. Okay, so even if you're 18... It has to be like you only can't be until you're 22.
You gotta. Well, I assume this is also because we're talking about the Olympics as well in this, because the amateur and USA Boxing is holding mostly qualifying for world championships, national championships, and the Olympics. So the 4 years is relevant for the Olympics, but it's also relevant because you're going to be dropping those hormone levels for 4 freaking years.
Yep.
The athlete must demonstrate that her total testosterone level in serum has been 5 nanomoles per liter, below 5 nanomoles per liter, for at least 48 months prior to her first competition, with requirement for any longer period to be based on a confidential case-by-case evaluation, considering whether or not 48 months is a significant length of time to minimize any advantage in women's competition. So essentially, you need to have that thing go from 10 to under 5 and be at under 5 for at least 2 years. No, 4 years. Sorry.
4 years? Yeah,
4 years. So you have to maintain that under 5 for 4 years. I assume would be the month-by-month documentation. Or no, excuse me, the quarterly documentation. So when you go in for your hormone testing every 3 months, that thing better be under 5 nanomoles every time for 4 years.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
The athlete's total testosterone level in serum must remain below 5 nanomoles per liter throughout the period of desired eligibility to compete in the female category. So not only do you have to pass the precursor of 4 years, you got to stay there for the life of your competition. So that is the qualification for you to become, if you are a transgender individual, to become, a female qualified, or however, I guess a female eligible USA Boxing competitor. So, Sensei, what do you think, man? Is this fair? That's the question everybody's asking. Is it fair?
I don't know yet. That's my honest answer, because this actually seems like a very fair way to go about it, because
this seems like a very thought out and
the major
concern.
Let's take away your feelings about
what's happening, right?
What's happening, whether you think people should switch, or how you feel about
transgenderism,
whatever.
Yeah.
Regardless, what the concern is, people there's a big disadvantage. There's a reason there's weight classes, right? There's a reason people fight at a certain age. You have certain stipulations to allow fights or competitions to be fair, so that the sport or whatever it is compelling and is fair for each person.
As fair as you can make it without the factors of extraordinary individuals in said weight class and competition.
Which that happens.
That happens.
But it's still considered fair.
Exactly.
So what we don't want is it to be unfair, because then you can just have someone, which we thought was going to be the case. I can just identify as said gender and then go and compete with all of these advantages. Right. And we've seen people be doing this on social media, whether it be like the powerlifting thing that guy went in and just identified as a female for that day, and then just won the competition type thing. It took literally the world. It broke the world record. So
the Leah Thomas thing with the swimming was a big topic of discussion, a couple of years ago.
And there was one too that even nearby from where I live, Southern Mass or Connecticut, but it was 2 track athletes. They were juniors, and then they transitioned their senior year and took state records and got scholarships, and took some other girl scholarships, I think. So the other part of it, I don't want to see biologically born women, females, lose out on these opportunities because, right? Because, jokes aside, but part of it has got to be, you have to be concerned, because these sports that we're talking about, like combat sports specifically, it started as a male sport. Females only started competing in these sports relatively recently.
Yeah.
So now that they've starting to build, and you now female boxers, right? Female MMA fighters, that is starting to grow as becoming a sport for females to pursue, and for them to develop and grow in and build their own, community and fan base and history in the game. And now all of a sudden, we're going to come in and wipe it out with guys who are transitioning to female. That's obviously a big concern. But this is the direction it needs to go if it's going to happen, which means you're not going to see an advantage. Now, I'm not going to say it's fair because I don't know. You talk about the same weight, right? Like in body mass. If like me being, if I make it to 175, if I've been 175 or fighting 175 my whole life,
the entirety of your life, right?
And even though my testosterone is less and my muscle mass, but I still weigh 175.
Yeah.
In comparison to a female who's weighing 175, or it's like a heavyweight deal, where like you have like a big weight scale.
Yeah. Is
it still going to be fair? So
that's the question.
Sounds like it's going to be more fair, but let me tell you something. I do not know, and I still am reserved. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I still don't like it.
I'm with you, man, because and I don't. We're not trying to come off as people that have all the answers for the education of what is happening biologically when you take these. Essentially, it's hormone replacement therapy, right? HRT.
Yeah. Yep.
We have no idea how much or how little it can close the gap or keep it where it is. Like, you're talking about an individual that has lived in a body for 18 years at least, because that's the rule here.
Yep, adults.
You have to be an adult. That means at some phase you've gone through puberty, which means that you did develop, bone density, bone mass, muscle mass, at least to some degree if you're training for an athletic sport, right? Because to be considered here, you're not just someone walking into a gym. You are going to be in some way having a physical advantage by having a male body for 18 years. Now, it's not even close to me, a 135-pound male and a 135-pound female, the difference. And like we talked about, muscle mass, bone density, fast twitch muscle fiber, skull size and mass, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things here. Now,
correct.
I've heard that HRT can reduce bone density to a certain degree, but what is the degree? How much can it mitigate? How much can you reverse? How much can we scale back 18 years of natural biology to try to even things up that we don't know, even with this 4 years, which again, I'm not faulting them for trying, but I don't like this stuff, man. When we start to have to really put the finer points home of what you have to be testosterone level wise, as if, by the way, some high level athletes, this is talking about an average male testosterone. There are high level athletes that operate on very low testosterone.
Yeah.
That still perform at high levels. Cyclists are known for this kind of stuff. So it's not something that I think is just so black and white that we put letters together and we talk about these nanomoles and we act as if it is equaling the playing field. Like there's a quote in here. Let me see if I can find it, that essentially is like, right here. For any longer period based on a confidential case-by-case evaluation, considering whether or not 48 months is a sufficient amount of length of time to minimize any advantage in women's competition. How is that judged? Who is judging that? How do you judge whether
I trained for 20 years? Let's say I trained in boxing for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I got a transition for only 4. That 20 years of training, like as in the male body, training my body is going to roll over.
It's just reversed by 4 years of HRT.
No.
Would you not have to then be on 20 years of HRT to reverse 20 years of natural development? Like, isn't that how it works?
I almost feel like I feel like the only way this is going to work is you have to somehow put them at a disadvantage. When you say equal to, that's the problem, because you say, okay, like if for testosterone is the same, then you don't have an advantage. Like
you should almost be less. You should almost be. I mean, again,
that's what I'm saying. The testosterone should be lower than like what the
you should be at like 0. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have 0 testosterone because that's what it's going to have to take for you to make up for years of even. Look at the difference between average testosterone. If we're talking about, we don't know what 7 nanomoles is, but it looks like 2.5 times what a female has. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 7 and 3, right? And that it just goes to show that the eye test that we are not. We know what it is.
We're not built the same.
When they say 10 to 3, it's like, duh. You know what I'm saying? We know that there's a difference. Everyone knows that. Even the females that are training.
A common sense perspective may not have all the right answers here. So when we say things like, "Oh, well, there's an inherent advantage," you and I can't explain the scientific reasons for it, but we see it. We know it. It's there. And again, if we're just using the common sense factor here, it's not, in any way trying to discriminate against transgender people. It's just specifically someone, most likely a biological female, is going to get hurt badly.
Right. It's the disadvantage.
Whether it's physical,
part. We don't
opportunity, right. Something is going to happen to where the people that are going to be hurt the worst, unfortunately, if this is, and it's going to be implemented in 2024, is the female boxer, the biological female boxer.
That's what I'm saying. All that matters is protecting the fairness of said sport.
Yeah.
That's why there's any rules in competition. There's any stipulation between. We've even done it with like weight. Well, okay, now they have to cut the weight, or they can only put on a certain amount of weight. Like they don't allow people to rehydrate completely, and sometimes they do, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these stipulations that go into play, which is like everyone has to take a drug test to make sure no one has an advantage. Everyone has to weigh in a certain
now
to make sure they have a certain
advantage.
advantage.
We're also talking about something that, like, we're talking about it because it's news. I don't expect in 2024 for there to be hundreds of transgender boxers entering the fray, right? I don't expect this explosion of transgender people trying to enter, and transition to women's boxing. But it does need to be talked about, because if the topic itself goes untalked about, we talk about it in other sports, if it goes silent, then the questions we have about fairness are unheard. And again, it all comes back to hurting the people we're trying to intend to include as well. Like, it's not just hurting female boxing, it's hurting, transgender people as well, because it's not their fault. They want to compete, but the problem is we don't have a clear, fair way for that. So I guess I'm more asking a question for you. What do you have a separate transgender division of this? Like, how do you? Because I don't know. This is the only thing that I've always heard. I don't know how to like make it fair for them as well.
Yeah, you have to figure out a way to make it fair. I think that's what you just do. I think the direction that they're heading, you're not going to be able to. Here's the thing, right? If somebody does transition and they do lower their testosterone levels for their personal life or whatever, right? Not for the sport, but just in general. If they compete in the male division, they'll be in an extreme disadvantage.
Exactly.
Right? Then if they compete in the female division, there's a disadvantage. So they have to, and this is them trying to go in that. You don't create a whole other division, because you're gonna have.
Then you're gonna have
to do the same thing.
Same division, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
You have to create rules there too. So it's tricky, but I think you head in this direction. But how do you make it fair? I think there is. I think you can reach some level of fairness eventually, but you'd have to figure out how it works.
How though?
I think you have to go disadvantage. So, for example, like let's say,
but even if you go disadvantage, right? Let's say you go 0. How long does 0 take to get to that?
I'm not even saying 0. I'm saying even weight class. Yeah, you have to compete at a
like
lower
you have to
weight
go.
class.
Yeah, you have to compete at a higher weight class than what you are.
At a higher weight class than what you are. Like there's ways, right? Maybe it's 2-weight class. I don't know. There are.
Yeah. But then
more.
But opening that door
strict.
is going to be chaos in its own right. Trying to mismatch the weight classes is going to be like, okay, well, now we can do this if you're this, and there's going to be manipulation in any way that we try.
There's going to be manipulation, but that's the same reason there's manipulation with drugs, like PEDs. There's going to be manipulation with weight and people.
So I guess that's the question.
Envelope and pushing the line.
Is there ever going to be a way?
I think eventually, though, I do like the time thing and the strictness of like surgery. So one of the main issues was like you can just identify. So the fact that they got rid of that is clear that they're trying to
weed out like a
someone is trying to do it.
Like, oh, I'm just trying to gain an advantage. Like, we want to make sure you're here for like yourself personally. You're going through a personal journey.
Dude, 4 years. This is a minimum of
just the fact that you're doing this is not based on competition. This is a life thing for you that happens to be something else you enjoy doing and you want to do for the rest of your life as a competition, as a profession, whatever, is secondary to you as a person doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. This is a weird. I'm sorry. I'm going to say this. This is a crazy comparison, but it's the only one that makes sense in my head.
What?
It's so random, but it's the only way a comparison I can make. So, like, if you want to move to this country,
oh no,
you no. You have to go through more things
than being born
here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, if you're born here, like there's people if you're born here,
No, I get
you'll
the
fail
comparison. That makes
this,
sense. Yeah.
the citizenship.
I would fail the citizenship
test.
I would fail it.
Right. But we're like America, right?
Yeah, facts.
But
Born
someone
here, don't
coming
need to, brother.
Yeah.
Take that
So,
damn
like, and then-
citizenship. My goodness. But I get what you're saying. It is.
So they're put at a
Yeah.
disadvantage because they're not from here.
Yeah.
So it's unfair.
Sounds crazy.
It is though, but LaRoe,
You don't
it's
even go
unfair.
here. But no, what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
unfair.
It's just
But what I think is that there has to be a disadvantage. When you start saying it's equal to, people who are born here are like, nah, you got to do a little bit more.
you got to
'Cause
get.
I was born here.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
you
gotta
ain't
go a little bit
birthed
more.
right into this, brother. You got to take you a quiz or two before you come across here. Damn it. Now listen, could I do it? No, hell no. But I got guns. It's just
I've
like.
been paying. I've been paying taxes for.
But I pay my
goddamn
taxes,
years.
damn, over here paving roads and backyard streets, and it's the stupidest thing. But
So I think
there is a
think
level of sense to what
eventually-
you're saying, yeah.
Because let's say, imagine, right? Would people have a less of an issue if you said, okay, so you got to have all of this, like, but the nanomoles or nanomites, whatever, have to be less than
Yep.
the female, and then you have to compete at a weight class lower. Now it's like people may think, okay, maybe that's a little too much. If it was so extreme, the disadvantage that people may start going, nah, you don't got to go that far.
Yeah. Then
Then
that's
you're
the
heading
point.
in the right
Yeah,
direction.
that's the point where you're like, okay, now we're starting
When
to
you
see
watch
stuff.
if you watch a clip and you're like, bro, they just got pieced up or something, like, okay, maybe you could let them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, too, is like an individual case basis. I mean, we've talked about this. Clarissa Shields has been, for years bragging about how many guys that she's, beat up in sparring and done that. And then obviously the clip came out of her getting dropped. But, yeah, man, it's a tough discussion.
If you transition,
It's
like,
just it's not in a
it
place
has to,
yet.
there has to be a disadvantage.
It's not there
It can't
yet.
be it cannot be an equal playing field. I'm sorry, it sounds crazy to say, but
just
what
can't.
happens is there isn't. When I say equal playing field, I'm talking based off the standard of this nanomoles of what they're using, and I'm not sure that is an equal playing field.
It's just not enough, right? Like for
So
you to go.
what you need to do is start on the other side to see if it's equal. You don't start with giving them an advantage, and that's what we've been doing. That's the main issue everyone has.
yeah.
You start with, well, they identify that way, so let them in. And that's the issue. So now they have an extreme advantage, and then people are losing because of that, right? So what you need to do is start on the other side of it. You start with an extreme disadvantage and let the people go, okay, I think it's reasonable if you did this. And I think the main issue that we have is that they're starting on the other side of it. They're starting with, it seems close enough. There's not that much of a difference.
Well, the reason
Good,
they're
let 'em
doing
compete.
that is because, well, I don't know about that, but the reason that we're all confused is because this is so new. We have no idea.
Right. Yeah.
But again, I hate saying it common sense, like I'm going to probably sound ignorant, but what our eyes tell us is that for this amount of time, being in this body is absolutely going to give you physical advantages. So, like you said, erring on the side of caution almost to a fault, while it may not be the answer long term, it's at least a starting point to go, yo, we're really going to have to find ways to, I don't know, not reverse this, but bring it down to like astronomically low levels, because you had astronomically high levels, not testosterone, but just physically compared to the biological differences in us. And it's just,
Because there's biological advantages that you can't change. So you have to then create disadvantages. That's what they have to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to create an equal playing field. You can't. Since there's biological differences that you can't change, that'll always be an advantage.
Yeah.
Then what you have to do is you have to find ways to create disadvantages for the person who's trained to equal the playing field. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
If you can create some disadvantages, whether it be weight, like you have to weigh under the weight, you can't be equal in weight. When you start saying equal in weight, equal in testosterone,
it's over.
people go, well, hey, but they were a male for this long. So what happens is, since this is a precursor of, there's already a preset advantage.
Yeah.
Create some disadvantages. Then I think we'll be getting somewhere.
There it is. Comment section. You let us know. As it stands right now, we both are like I said, we don't like this. That's the only thing we can say right now. We don't like it as it currently stands. This is not good. But yeah, I don't know. You have to create some disadvantages.
I think that the disadvantages part, I think I hit the nail on it right there.
There you go.
I think
let
that's the
my
best way to go
man
about it.
Sensei know, and Let us know what you think about the standards already in play. Is this enough? Is this fair? That's the question we're all asking. We don't have the answers, but guess we'll find out.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it